Ghostbusters Afterlife finally comes out this week. I'm so damn excited. I'm a massive Ghostbusters fan, in case you didn't know. So I'm like so excited for this film. I mean, the original cast are returning, and because of that, I was like, now is probably the perfect time to rewatch Evolution with David Duchovny. I mean, I haven't seen it since like the 90s. I probably bought the DVD then. I have a lot of DVDs. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. I mean, you know. What the fuck? I didn't leave things like that. No human is going to stack Blu-rays like that. I don't know who the hell did that, but I'll look through it there. I'll keep the video going. Thankfully, I left my tripod in here, and we'll do it like a vlog style. Let's see. What are we going to watch? Edward, no. Ghostbusters 2016. No, thank you. We've had male Ghostbusters and female Ghostbusters, and now we have to make way for kid Ghostbusters. They're kind of running out of options here, so you have to see this one, or the next one we get is probably going to be pet Ghostbusters, and none of us want that. I like to think I'm a pretty impartial reviewer. I haven't shown any bias to franchises I like or film directors I enjoy, and I say that because I'm wondering if this film could be the exception to that, because one of my earliest memories is seeing the first Ghostbusters film, and it's been one of my favourite films like forever. And I've genuinely waited with anticipation for like my whole life of seeing the original Ghostbusters suit up again. And I'm wondering if something like that could cloud my judgment. This film did remind me of another movie though, I mean aside from Ghostbusters obviously, but that was The Force Awakens. Remember back in 2015 when everyone said they kind of loved this film, even though the movie played it very safe and basically just remade the original film, but people couldn't get out of the way to praise the film, that Star Wars was back, especially after what people considered to be inferior previous entries. But people still didn't seem to mind it because it wasn't offensively bad in any noticeable way, and they brought back the leads after a long absence. Ah, yeah, see, they are kind of alike actually. Yeah, I think this is probably my Force Awakens, because as much as I like Star Wars, I've never been as passionate about it as I have been about Ghostbusters, and I think it's also like The Force Awakens for me because as much as I quite enjoyed and had fun with this film, I can also really acknowledge that it didn't really do much new, that it was rather regressive and basically just catered to fanboy nostalgia. And of course they also followed the Star Wars roadmap of bringing back the original cast. I don't think that's a spoiler by now. They've been promoting it everywhere. I think the word is out now that the original 3 living Ghostbusters are in this film. And they even gave them, the Chewie we're home moment that we got in the Force Awakens trailer at the end of the most recent trailer.
Chewie, we're home.
Hey, have you missed us?
And then the second half of the film is then basically remaking the original film with minor changes and some of the new cast members thrown in. And as you can imagine, with those 2 points in mind, your mileage with this film may vary. I do think it would be unfair to write the film off completely for its fan service or reboot elements though. I mean, that's sort of the trend with modern blockbusters now, but it does seem pretty weird to do it with Ghostbusters, which has never really had that degree of reverence or overly saccharine nostalgia. And if nothing else, I think this film has kind of proven that it's a pretty shallow universe to build on. The plot of the film is that Egon Spengler, once portrayed by the late great Harold Ramis, has died, and he's passed his home on to his estranged daughter and grandkids, who move into this home in the middle of nowhere and start to learn about their connection to the Ghostbusters and why Egon moved to the town to begin with. And as you can expect with these films, there's a lot of ties to the original film and familiar faces along the way. That being said, the movie can definitely be broken into 2 distinct parts. In its first half, the film is very much focused on the new characters, them learning about their connections to the Ghostbusters, finding the old equipment on Ecto-1, and then learning about why the town is so important. And I actually found this part quite interesting. I at least felt different and like the film had a kind of an idea of what it wanted to be. Well, I do think quite a few people are going to write it off as sort of slow, but at the same point I do think they gave us the time to get to know the new characters, which is to the film's ultimate benefit. Second half is where it goes all in on the fan service. The original cast show up and the plot starts to resemble the first movie. And it's also where the payoff of the movie is, I guess, because like I said, not a lot happens in the film until we sort of get to the ending. But there is stuff to like about that. I mean, if you're one of these fans that's waited so long to see the return of the Ghostbusters, you'll get that. but it definitely feels like the film was more interesting in the first half, as the second half of the film sort of starts to feel like the greatest hits. The cast over the plot is what made this film, though. I mean, I really like the new characters, and that's a real testament to the movie. I was surprised how little the adult characters kind of factored in, though. Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon, I found them quite likeable, and I thought they had great chemistry, but I was surprised how little they were in it overall. I mean, the movie really does belong to the young cast. We have Finn Wolfhard, who I thought was pretty likeable overall, but I'm not going to say it was like an earth-shattering performance. I kind of found the character just didn't have all that much to do or kind of factor into the plot all that much. He was just there because Stranger Things, 80s, Ghostbusters, I don't know. The movie absolutely belongs, though, to McKenna Grace. Talk about making a name for yourself. McKenna Grace, who I'm pretty sure should probably swap her first and her last name, but anyway, she plays this socially awkward genius misfit that you totally buy as the granddaughter of Egon Spengler. And she just crushed the role, and is one that could have easily been a disaster, but I found her kind of funny and sweet and weird, like you'd need that character to be. I found myself rooting for her at times and feeling for her at other times. I just think she did an outstanding job. For the return of the original cast, I do have some quibbles. I mean, I think they did a great job paying homage to Harold Ramis and making his presence felt sort of throughout the film in a relatively tasteful way. Although I do want to get into that a bit more specifically in spoilers at the end of this video. But for the rest of the cast, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great seeing them. And it did definitely scratch that nostalgia itch. But they're not actually in it that much. And when they are, it's all action. And that was such a minor part about why we like those characters to begin with. So it would have been nice to spend some time with them outside of the finale. And I think that's a sort of a misstep on the film's part. One of the big concerns people had going into this was that the film was either going to be too serious or just not comedic. And to be honest, I found the film pretty comedic. I mean, the sense of humour is totally different to the original. It's more in keeping with modern films, but it got some laughs out of me. And overall, I thought the comedy in the film did work. As for how serious it is pretty serious at times. Maybe it was the fact that I'd seen all these trailers and I'd seen all that discussion that it sort of cushioned the blow for me. But it didn't seem to bother me that much. Maybe it was because I was expecting it. But overall, the tone of the film wasn't really a problem for me. Two areas I thought the film showed a real respect to the original were in special effects and the score. I think they did a really good job of being faithful to the original special effects, but also improving them and updating them for more modern sensibilities. They managed to make them look crisp and colourful, and in keeping with that first film, they made the effects look retro without making them look outdated, which is probably the biggest feather in its cap. I even think there's some practical effects in there that honestly look like they improved upon original designs. The score as well takes a lot of influence from the original, but it doesn't fully feel like a retread, but it is fun when you do hear the sort of homage to the original film score. I will say I found the film surprisingly emotional at times. Maybe it's because of my own personal history and waiting for most of my life to see the Ghostbusters suit up again. Or maybe it's because of how tied it was to Harold Ramis, who's unfortunately no longer with us, and that kind of just made the reuniting of the Ghostbusters a little bit bittersweet. Of course, Murray, Hudson and Aykroyd suiting up one more time as Ghostbusters is something I honestly didn't think we'd get again, so the fact that we got it was enough to satisfy me. But that doesn't make it a great movie, because it's not a great movie. At its worst, it's nostalgia bait for fanboys. At its best, it's a weird indie fan film that doesn't really feel like Ghostbusters, and when the movie tries to feel like Ghostbusters, it comes off as very manipulative and a bit lazy. It kind of makes the film feel a little bit pathetic, like it doesn't have anything to say or add to the Ghostbusters legacy. It just feels like a sort of reactionary move after the 2016 film, because people thought that film didn't respect the original and that this is the film that the fans really wanted. And sure, I kind of liked it for some of those reasons, because it did feel like a film I never thought I would actually get, and it did provide closure on a third Ghostbusters film, but it never really fully comes together, and instead, on its own merits, the film doesn't really work. It's a strange pastiche between the original film, Stranger Things, and The Force Awakens. Just like with The Force Awakens, in the years to come it probably won't hold up, but for now it will give you that brief nostalgia high. I also think it's probably going to have a similar enough reaction in that people are going to fawn over it now, and in the years to come they'll probably talk that back a bit. But personally, this is a franchise that's already been sort of tarnished beyond recognition. I mean, pretty much since the original film. So I was fine with a somewhat cynical, repackaged reboot of that first movie. And to be honest, there was parts of it that really did work for me. When it tried to be something different and something new, I found it quite enjoyable. But by the end, it had really regressed into satisfying but pretty shallow fan service. And hopefully, like with episode 7, where it had the potential to be a reset for hopefully more interesting sequels to come, this can be a sort of reset point for Ghostbusters where we can get something new and interesting in future installments. Ghostbusters Afterlife is another example of weaponized nostalgia, and I'm not going to lie, there were times where it did work on me. But I can also acknowledge that the film does have many faults, such as it being quite predictable because of how closely it does follow the original film, especially in the final act. The other problem is that the movie just never feels like it justifies its existence outside of getting the original cast back into the jumpsuits, which is a shame because the first half of the film at least feels different, like it might have something to say, and is also very interesting as a result, as much as it is dripping in reference and reverence to the original film. That being said, the cast are decent, the score and effects are pretty good, and the emotional beats did land at times, as manipulative as they were. If you're a diehard fan of the series, chances are you'll walk away being entertained. Bustin' might make you feel good, but chances are it won't last. Okay, we need to talk about the finale, specifically the return of the original Ghostbusters, and even more specifically, the return of Egon Spengler, despite the fact that Harold Ramis is very much dead. What's frustrating about this, and I'm not entirely sure yet how I feel about this, is that it feels like they came really close to nailing it and then went that step too far in the finale. Like, the opening of the film is the death of Egon, and they seemingly used, a stand-in and kept him in shadow, a look-alike, and I thought that really worked and was quite tastefully done. And then when he's dead, he kind of occupies the house and manipulates the objects in the house. And I thought that was a very interesting idea and quite sweet seeing him interact with the grandkids. But then we get to the finale and I think they went that one step too far. So it begins modestly enough. The granddaughter is using the proton pack and we see a kind of a hand guide her aim. And I'm like, hey, that's kind of okay still, I guess. He's there, but we don't need to see him. And then, no, never mind. No more teasing. There's Harold Ramis as a ghost. There's his face and his body. He's a full character of the movie now. They're all interacting with him. He doesn't say anything. He's standing around though. And yeah, there's no more subtlety there. He's right there. And it's awkward and gratuitous. And yeah, there's a debate a lot lately about whether or not, actors who have passed on should be reanimated to kind of portray beloved characters. And for me, I think this one kind of confirmed to me that yeah, it's a bit tasteless, even if you do dedicate the film to Harold Ramis. And I know they did that so we could kind of get that closure of the four Ghostbusters finally being reunited and to sort of close out Harold Ramis' time, Egon Spengler's time in the Ghostbusters universe. But I just think they went a step too far, having him be so present in the film. And yeah, look, maybe Harold Ramis would have wanted it that way. But we kind of speculated that this was going to happen a long time ago. And yeah, seeing it executed, I just think they went a bit too far, in my opinion. And look, it had the desired emotional effect in that I missed Harold Ramis, but it felt like a very disgusting and manipulative way to do that. I just think it was a bit unpleasant, and I felt awkward watching it. But anyway, let me know what you thought of Ghostbusters Afterlife in the comments below. Do you agree with me about reanimated Ramis, or should he not have been so present in the film and so kind of gratuitously shown in the finale? But either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give this a like. Check out some more Ghostbusters content on our channel now, and be sure you don't miss more stuff coming up. Be sure to press that subscribe button. Anyway, I've been your cult leader, Tom Pot. I can't spell cult without you.